Hi, I'm Larry Dignan, and we're here with Ray Wang, and he has a book called Everybody Wants to Rule the World. We know him best as the principal of Constellation Research. And hey, Ray, thanks for joining us.
Larry, hey, thanks for having me. It's been really fun, this book here. So we'll talk more about it later, I guess.
Yeah, so I went through the book, and I kind of like the idea of giving us the playbook so we can all become Facebook and Google and act like giants. I really want to be Mark Zuckerberg. So how do we get there?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I want to be Mark Zuckerberg, but a
No,
lot of
probably
people
not.
do.
It's too many trips to Capitol Hill for me. But
Too many trips to Capitol Hill, a lot of pressure. You got to block off entire blocks in Palo Alto to have a house. But no, there are things about the digital giants that are different, and we're seeing new types of digital giants emerge. This is more than Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and Microsoft, right? What we're talking about is the business model behind digital giants. We see it in Roblox. We see it in SpaceX. We see it in what we're seeing in Starlink. We're seeing it in Coupang, right? We see it in Robinhood. These are companies that all have the same characteristics. And the five things that are important is this massive fascination with customer account control and disintermediation. So taking customers and aggregating them. The second piece is competing different data, and data is really the weapon for winning. And then, of course, building the largest networks, then monetizing those networks like no one else has. That's through ads and search, it's goods, it's services, it's memberships, it's subscriptions. And then they have a long-term mindset. They can lose hundreds of millions of dollars and other people can't. And that allows them to get the escape velocity. And once they do, it's wildly successful. And let me give you a stat that's really important. In 2017, the combined market cap of the FANGs and Microsoft was 2 trillion. When you are that big, all laws of physics come into play. You don't grow anymore. You can't grow at double digits. You can't expand. You're limited by your governance. All these things typically happen. But in this case, if we look at the market cap today, it is over 10 trillion. They quintupled in 4 years. That has never, ever happened in the history of business. And this is why these digital giants have something special.
so is it the data or is it the platform?
It's both. It's the network plus the platform, these data driven digital networks, right? And the ability to actually monetize against that platform. That data creates the flywheel effect. The platforms continue to build out that knowledge, and it's really taking analytics, automation, and AI and really industrializing that.
So a company like Robinhood, like it's funny the examples you went through. I'm like, in Roblox in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that they have a platform that's kind of cool. And they monetize. Robinhood, I look at and I go, not quite sold as much. Um, I guess what's the difference between that escape velocity and getting kind of almost there?
Let's walk through the same 5 steps and use those as an example. The first one is account control disintermediation. What is going on? Well, basically, they're disintermediating the broker relationship. You're going direct. It's direct to consumer, not just on getting into the stock market, but also on financial service products in the future, right? And of course, the digital wallet and the ability to trade in your cryptos, right? So that's the first part. The second piece is they've trading on data, right? Payment on order flow is ridiculous. Why do you think it's a free trade? It's because these companies on the back end are basically capturing that data to figure out what hedges they should be playing against, the folks that are trading. So it's actually kind of funny. They're selling out on the data. And so there's a battle for data supremacy. They're capturing that type of data. The third thing is they've built pretty big networks, right? And we're thinking at tens of millions of users on these networks. Now we're looking at that kind of scale, and that creates the flywheel effect and the data-driven digital network, which is the platform. And then, of course, they're starting to monetize other things. They'll be monetizing search, they'll be monetizing ads, they have other goods, memberships, other things that they'll do in their future plans. And then, of course, they've been losing money, right? They can keep losing money. Nobody seems to care, right? Until they get to a certain size, they'll be like, okay, fine. So now they've dominated the market and taking out Schwab, taking out, all your investors, Fidelity, all the other folks. I mean, that's really what they're going after, right? And
And
banks.
do those big folks see it coming?
Oh,
or
of
no?
course they see it coming. They just can't do anything about it, right? This is the essence of the book. We have companies that are doing amazingly well, and their shareholders have basically decided that you're a legacy company. You can't get to 30, 40% returns or 200% returns or 500% returns, right? We know you can't do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to handicap you. Not only are we going to tie your hand behind the back, we're going to tie both hands behind the back. We're going to strip your cash using share buybacks, dividends. We're going to use mergers and acquisitions to squeeze the last drop out of your company. And then we're going to take that same money and go invest in startups that will kick your butt. That's what's going on, right?
Right.
And that's why these companies, it's stacked against existing companies who don't have boards that are strong enough to fight that.
So if you're a company and you want to be a digital giant, does it pay to go private? Does it, I guess, how do you compete without, the buybacks, the shareholders, and all that stuff?
The secret is the joint venture startup. You basically take an existing company's model, you take a capital expenditure where you actually go fund a brand new joint venture startup. You find other partners along the way in the ecosystem. You get them together to come and actually go compete and create a brand new entity to go play in this space. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say we want to do smart buildings, awesome idea, dynamic pricing per revenue per square feet or meter. We can renegotiate power purchase agreements. We can do green buildings. We can do, dynamic ads. We can even do remote field service management. Lots of wonderful reasons to do smart buildings. Okay. Someone who goes out and says, hey, we're going to do $200 million for smart buildings. We know they're lying, right? I mean, it's not bad intent. We just know they're lying because it's a $2 billion project, not a $200 million project. They can't come up with the money. They don't have the talent and they don't have the tech, right? So we know it's doomed to failure, but hey, it's a great way to pump up stock price and maybe they move the needle a little bit, right? But if you're serious about it, you take that money, say, I'm going to put a brand new startup, $200 million for this smart building startup. We're going to go partner with someone that actually has capital and the technology. So I take one of the public cloud providers, Google, Microsoft, or Amazon, and say, come join me for another $200 million. We raise $400 million to go build this. And then I take a system integrator or someone else that actually has the bodies, the talent, the capabilities, the process know-how. And so I'd go to like Accenture Ventures or IBM or pick your favorite one, TCS, Wipro, boom. Ask them for another $50 million. We raise $450 million. And then I go to the ecosystem, ThyssenKrupp, Johnson Controls, Schneider Electric, right? Honeywell, and say, give me $10 million and I'll give you 1% of this brand new company. We're going to start and build smart buildings on day one, right? What would happen, right? I'd have raised $500 million. My market cap would at least be $2 billion on day one. I can trade on that. Anyone who wants to build something new is going to come. I'm going to take people's talent. And then more importantly, your market cap, if you're not part of this deal, it's going to drop. Right? People are like, oh my God, like institutional investors are like, oh my God, I need to be in this new thing. This old thing's not working. And so I'm going to take their market cap. It's a cap table raid. And then, of course, the competitors will jump in and try to get into the market. And in fact, they will. They'll start their own model. They'll do the same thing. I chose one vendor. They chose another. So I choose Google. They choose Amazon. I choose Accenture. They choose Wipro. It doesn't matter. We go down the line.
Right.
But by the time they're done, there's no money left in the market. We've basically consolidated down to 2 players in less than 1 year. And we've created duopolies on day one, right? And we talk about duopolies in this book. Duopolies traditionally, they take 40 to 50 years. GM versus Ford, Airbus versus like Boeing, Burger King versus McDonald's, Coke versus Pepsi. These things take MasterCard versus Visa. These things take 40 to 50 years to get here. We just collapsed the whole market into duopolies in 1 year.
So back to that example. I mean, I think this happened after your book came out, but the Cambridge Quantum, Honeywell Quantum kind of deal. That sounds like it's part of the blueprint that you just mentioned with the joint venture startup kind of motif.
That is awesome, right? For a lot of people who don't understand Honeywell, Honeywell is a digital industrial tech company. That's one way to look at it. They've done a great job trying to do that. There's more sensors, process controls. Quantum is like one of those things where you're like, what? Quantum computing at Honeywell? Like they don't even make thermostats anymore. But people are like, what? What do you mean the quantum computing? Well, they have control systems. They have the capability of this trapped ion gate quantum, right? And instead of actually letting it die inside an existing company, they set it free. Right? They set it free to go out and actually create this joint venture and go out and build an ecosystem and hopefully do well. And Honeywell still retains control, right, to some certain number of shares. But more importantly, this company can now go out and actually build that capability. And Tony Utley is the CEO over there. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy smart idea. Like it totally
We
lines
need
up.
more of these. Like existing companies need more of these. They end up with a portfolio of innovation startups in these different industries. That's how they're going to be successful.
Right. So basically, the legacy players, they could become portfolio holding companies, basically.
They should be portfolio holding companies, and they should attract talent to take some of these portfolios and take them all away. Right?
Right.
Don't rot your existing advantage. So many companies have a natural advantage that they forget about. And of course, they go chase the shiny object and then they lose the natural advantage and they lose the new market at the same time. Right. So there's a way to do both and be successful.
So let's flash forward. Your book talked about regulatory stuff a little bit, and I think I had a chapter or two on it. What? How do you do this duopoly dance without getting into regulatory headaches? I mean, you look at what's happening in China. I mean, that's a different market, obviously, but it's kind
That's
of
a different type of regulatory headache.
Yeah, that's more than regulatory, but it's amazing how they broke out the whoop ass on their own. Like, you just kind of go, wow.
They broke out the whoop ass, and that was actually very interesting. So I'm not sure if they're trying to secure their fronts so that they can disconnect from the internet before they go take over Taiwan, or if it's really because they're trying to make sure that the Communist Party is still above, private enterprises and like tech superstars shouldn't be tech superstars. There's something going on there. Right. But in the US, right, and in purpose of this book, right, we actually look at a couple of things. Now, keep in mind, I am a free market capitalist. I'm an unabashed free market capitalist. I think it's important, but there are also guide rails that you have to have in place. And one of them is really this notion where, a good friend of mine, you met him before, Richie Atwaru, has been talking for a while, where personal data needs to be a private property right, right? So your privacy information, your genomics, right, your digital exhaust, that should all be part of a property right. Because if it's a property right, it has laws and legal infrastructure already in place. You buy a house, you get a land title. You create an idea, right? You get a patent, you get a trademark, right? Well, your personal data is what's being brokered around these digital giants, and they need your consent and they need your permission if they're going to use that data. And that's one way to actually create that economy against that, right? The second thing that needs to be in place, and this is actually interesting, I don't know if it can be pulled off, right, is data portability. I love this concept of data portability. Back in the day, for those folks who remember, there were a couple cell phone carriers. If you switched your number and you switched carriers, you weren't going to keep your number. You were not allowed. If you switch carriers, you could not keep your number. That was number portability. Imagine data portability. All your Facebook feeds, your Insta feeds, your Twitter, your TikTok. If you switch to another video provider or social media or picture, or image, community, fine, right? You get to move all your data with you, right? And they have to give that to you. Now, if we got to that point, that will also be interesting, which will actually create a competitive playing field. But I think the most important thing that we haven't been asking in this fight against digital giants and the need to regulate is the cost benefit analysis. And what you really have to come back and think to is, hey, our ability to translate 140 different languages on Google Translate, our ability to have mapping technology down to the nearest inch, that's coming. These are benefits and community benefits that have been delivered. And we can't forget these benefits are there, right? And right now, the cost benefit analysis is so much better, right? I mean, we're getting so many advantages from the tech companies. Prices are coming down, right? You have more innovation that's being delivered to the public as a public good, right? You have more capabilities. You have more players in the ecosystem. There's more money being generated in these, networks, right? So far, it's not a bad thing, right? But when we get to a point where companies are being bought and just to be killed, right? We're seeing a point where competitors can't, jump into a market and prices are going up, right? You're not getting the innovations and selections that you were getting before. Yeah, then we have to go. We definitely need to invoke antitrust, right? That's where we have to do it. But we're not doing cost benefit analysis. We got some deputy DA in DC was like, we're suing Amazon for making all the prices cheaper for everybody. I'm like, really?
It doesn't quite fly. I think the antitrust has to be probably totally rewritten. But
yes, completely.
The other weird part is we look at it in hindsight, where you look at something like Facebook buying Instagram, and you go, "You rat bastards," and yet you look at it and they bought Oculus, and I don't know. It may work, may not. I don't know. I mean, could be akin to Google's Motorola purchase. I don't know. You know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean. Right? No, but people are like, oh my God, they were designing to take over the world. You don't know if these acquisitions are going to succeed or not, right? You can't look backwards like that. And the folks are saying, oh, this was all an evil plot. Well, it's about dominance. It's about winning in markets, but nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think it almost comes down. I mean, I do think there are probably a few examples where they went out and killed something. Um, but I don't know. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, how many things did Twitter buy and kill, and it's never amounted to anything?
I'd say dozens, dozens.
Yeah, we're not doing this on Periscope, are we?
No.
So yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing. So do you think we'll get to a point where you got these tech giants that are kind of targets, and then you have, I guess I'd call them savvy legacy players that sort of do this JV thing and ultimately becomes big? I haven't seen it as much though. I mean, the JV thing's kind of they're more into like a company like Accenture, right? They bought a ton of like small marketing firms, ad agencies, things like that to build out their digital capabilities. But it's not the ad agency of record yet. Maybe, but it's not there yet.
They could be the AOR, Accenture Interactive, in the roles that they play. But take an example, like look at Dell over the years, right? They built portfolios. Right. It's been a portfolio company and very successful. I mean, Michael Dell engineered probably the most amazing financial turnaround ever. Right. I mean, if you look at what he was able to do, and then plus add the pandemic with the demand for laptops and, his shedding of some of the software assets that he has, it's been pretty incredible to watch. Right. So you see some of these, right. So, but I think there's going to be more. And I think the joint ventures are going to happen with like Fortune 500 companies, right? Because if there's some level of antitrust and let's say like a Google, Microsoft, and Amazon aren't allowed to get into new industries, they can partner and they can invest in partners to create those new industries. And that's why I see this as a huge opportunity for those joint venture startups.
All right. Anything we didn't touch on that we should have?
There are Easter eggs in the book. There are $3 trillion market cap companies. If you find them, give me a call, drop me a line, catch me on Twitter. And there are $100 billion unicorns sitting right there in the book. Some of them in existing companies who could drive and build that right away. So take a note and figure out who they are.
Oh, so if I'm a legacy vendor, I should be leafing through your book to figure out what I should do?
Yes. There are a few of them that have a $100 billion market that they missed, and it's sitting right in front of them on LinkedIn. Anyways, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to go back in a few years and check it out. So let's see how it turned out. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.